Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. This is the first of a few in a series that we're going to be doing called Make Something Awful. And Make Something Awful is because one day you sit down on the 1st of April and you put together a tweet and then you send it out there, and the next thing you know, there's like lots and lots of people retweeting it and lots of people liking it. And I got messages from people, and the message that I got back from a lot of people was that they had attempted something for the first time, even if they were on their 50th time. And the first time they had made maybe something awful, but they had definitely got past that first thing. And the whole thing about making something was going ahead and making it and not necessarily worrying about how the first one was going to turn out, because there's a likelihood it was going to be not as good as maybe what the 50th was going to be. I'm joined by a very young man, shockingly, who I've just discovered.
Yeah.
A gentleman by the name of Merrick Tull-Johnson. Merrick's at school, American-wise is at school. Over here we would say is at college or university. He's currently studying writing in relation to journalism as well. He has already published, self-published, a couple of pieces of literature. We're going to have a chat just about the general process, about the writing process, about himself. When you get the big famous people on TV and stuff like that, we ask the big famous people about how they started off, but how do we start off about everybody else who is, making those first steps? So this is to have a conversation with Merrick to find out a little bit about how he goes about making something awful himself. So thank you very, very much for coming on. So I really appreciate it.
You.
How are you on this fine day? Are you well?
Yes, it is. It was a pretty nice day. It was sunny, now it's cloudy. But I took a walk, went to the store, grabbed a charger because mine broke last night. So
all right.
I'm doing pretty good so far. We'll see how the day goes.
What temperature? Because obviously over here we say it's a pretty warm day, and it's like, it can be like, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Over there, you're going to be like 75 Fahrenheit, and everybody in America is complaining it's cold. So what's the temperature today, Merrick? How warm?
I didn't check the temperature, but my roommate said it was 70s because he was complaining about it being too hot. I didn't feel hot at all. I thought it was warm. It was about time. I'm tired of snow. About time.
Where are you based?
I'm in Lowell, Massachusetts at the moment.
Because you're at school at the moment, aren't you? As we said,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said you're studying kind of writing, but you're concentrating primarily on journalism. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to do it based on like newspaper.
All right. Okay. So you want to write for the printed press then?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of like with writing kind of being your thing. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of first got started off. Kind of,
So my process?
Yeah. Or maybe just like the first piece that you wrote, or how you kind of got interested in writing in kind of like the first place.
Oh, man. I never have a real answer. But I usually tell people I was always writing as long as I can remember, since elementary school. I just never really finished my work because of writer's block. So I actually got serious my junior year of high school.
Right.
Because that was when I finished my first short story, and I really felt like great about that because it takes a lot to start and finish a book. And I was like, I think I want to take this seriously now. So then...
What was the first story about? What was it called?
My first short story? Well, my first short story was the Lost City story, my first one.
'Yeah.
So then I was like, I'm going to add more to this. And then that's when I first started writing for real. Then I got to community college, and that's when I actually finished it.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I was going to like keep it. What did I do? Then I added more from the second book to incorporate it in the first book to make it longer, to give her that 200 plus pages. So then when I came to my second book, what I did was like I added a little bit of everything to make it longer. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel kind of like you had to kind of make it bigger? Did you decide? Did it have a natural end, and did you just decide to kind of add more stuff in?
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah, basically. Because I wanted to make it longer.
When you go back in, I mean, how many iterations of a story do you write? How many times do you write it and kind of like rewrite it? You know, do you start off with the first draft and then go right and kind of rewrite the whole thing again just to kind of fill it out again? Or are you the type of person that you'll write something, leave it for a couple of weeks to kind of almost like simmer and then go back to it and kind of nitpick at it?
I had to teach myself that.
All right.
I had to teach myself that. Yeah, because I do everything myself from editing to the writing. So I had to teach myself to like let it sit when I finish. Mm-hmm. So I could go back in it with new eyes, better eyes. Then that from there on, I'll pick out what I have to edit out, if I have to add more, stuff like that. You have to teach yourself, because you'll really get caught up into it and miss a lot of stuff, or like miss a plot bunny. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's good to really just let it simmer. I usually let it simmer for a week or two.
Right.
Before I go back into it, because usually within that week I'm celebrating because I finished it.
Do you try? I mean, what were your influences on your actual writing? I mean, is there any authors that you would go to kind of like again and again, or do you try and switch between different authors in order to help with your own kind of creative style?
Well, I never had a favorite author, but I feel like the book that influenced me the most was The Hidden Empire by Kevin J. Anderson. It's a science fiction novel, and the description in that novel was amazing. So it really was like the description. It puts you there basically. You can see everything happening, and I really like that feeling too. So I guess that influences me to make my works really descriptive. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I wouldn't say I have any outside sources. But I will say that one of my favorite books is Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde.
That's an old classic. That's a really, really old classic. Robbie Louis Stevenson. Yeah, it's good to see you picked a Scottish author. What do you like about that book?
I got you.
What?
What do you like about that book? I had to do a project about it. But as I was reading it, I was like, I really like this. You know, I thought I was going to be miserable because I didn't. It was required to read it. But what I really liked about it the most was, like, I did my project on, what's it called? Alternate personalities, because I really liked how during the day it's a doctor, and then during the night he has that battle with Hyde, and I like how it basically like highlights good and evil in people. That's what I did my project on.
Did you have you read any kind of others of kind of like that kind of genre? Have you read kind of like Frankenstein or anything like that?
I read tidbits of Frankenstein. I never finished it.
It's a bleak, like even Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde. It's a bleak book. I mean, at that time they didn't think anything of kind of hiding any of the kind of the horror in the book. Because I remember Because as a kid, because, well, you know who Jekyll and Hyde are. It's like so many different places. If it's not like kind of monsters on TV, it's kids' cartoons. It's that terrible film, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the one with Sean Connery, where one of the guys... It was on the TV the other day, which is why I can remember it. And but if you actually read the books, it's like the books are like kind of really, really kind of bleak themselves. When you're writing, do you have kind of several ideas kind of sitting at once then? Do you kind of like get flashes of inspiration and then start off on 2 or 3 different stories at one time, or do you generally focus on kind of one idea and kind of write like that?
I had to teach myself that too. Because I'd be in the middle of something and then I'll get a whole nother idea about a book and it would just eat at me. And I had to tell myself to shut up and stop thinking about that and just wait for it to finish. But me personally, I don't wait for inspiration because inspiration just doesn't pop up every day. Writing is more about disciplining yourself to actually sit down there and write a book. So I had to not use that whole inspiration. I don't know how people say they wait for inspiration, because if you wait for inspiration, you won't get anything done, to me, in my opinion.
You just keep writing and writing and writing and then see what kind of sticks then? Is that what you kind of do?
Yep. Even if I have stuff to do, I try to write at least a page. It's really about being disciplined, mainly.
Is that to kind of get better? Is that to kind of improve? Is that just to kind of get into kind of like a good habit?
All of the above.
I guess if you're kind of like, if you're wanting to write anything that's like at least 300 pages long, you've got to be at writing at least kind of 1 or 2 pages a day. Otherwise, you're going to like severely kind of fall behind. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. I'm trying to reach a goal of 300 or 400 pages in the book I'm writing now. Okay.
What kind of influences the kind of the ideas? I mean, do you base it on kind of like how things were kind of growing up? Do you base it on do you just bring the ideas out from kind of nowhere? Do you base it on kind of like personal experiences, or?
I bring it out of nowhere.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. People ask me, I don't know.
You get out of nowhere, so, I mean, where does it come from?
Well, people always ask me that, and I tell them I don't know. For almost 4 books now, I don't know. But it's true. Where does it come from? Well, when I get a good idea, I get this like tingly feeling. I don't know how to explain it. But then, of course, it pops out of nowhere. And then I put like all the pieces together in my head, like characters and how the characters are going to be. I often talk to myself with dialogue between characters, and then I picture what the world would be like, and I just put it on paper, and then it shows up on paper, and I just be like, I'm gonna work with this. I'm gonna work with what I got. And then it turns into a novel. I'm like, I got this. Sort of.
So
I don't know, it's weird.
How did you get there? I mean, was that what happened with like soil grounds then? I mean, was it just a case of kind of like, well, I'm just going to start writing something, and then as you were writing, the characters kind of almost like walked themselves kind of onto the page, yeah.
I need to start telling people that everything just walks right in when I write, basically. That was
Do you write? Do you try? See, when you're writing, do you try and avoid kind of like tropes and stereotypes and things like that? You know, like the detective with kind of like a shady, angry kind of past. You know, that kind of thing. You know, obviously has to have a drinking problem, kind of thing. Do you try and stay away from that when you're kind of writing?
See, in my first 2, I kind of did that, and because I wanted to mix it with neo noir and the classic noir. So with my first two, of course, I had that angry detective with the drinking problem who wants to get the job done by any means necessary. And then, that was the time. That was the time I used that stereotype. I used a lot of stereotypes in my first one. I wouldn't say stereotypes, but I would say I used some of the rules. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the femme and, of course, the detective.
Yeah.
And then,
the typical kind of tropes, basically, the ones that you would expect to kind of come into a story, yeah.
Yeah, and then I put it with the neo-noir aspects where all that really doesn't have to be incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got the vigilante. That's where I got the journalist.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got the detective's sidekick who's learning from him and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. And I made like everything just intertwine with each other. So all the characters run into each other and they make bad decisions together.
Mm. Did you go for like plot twists and things like that? Because I see so many kind of the bigger stories seem to have a lot of kind of like plot twists left, right and centre. You never know kind of what's going to happen until the end, and then at the very end it's still the wrong thing that's like, and you realise it was the guy that was the bad guy who was the good guy. He then became the bad guy, but then he became the good guy, but he was actually bad all along. Kind of thing.
I love plot twists. I love plot twists.
You try to get as many plot twists as possible in the book then.
Especially since it's like a very, very dark genre. So I just throw a plot twist in there, just add on to everything and stress people out, make the blood pressure rise. I love it. It's cool. You kill the favorite character. I like doing that. I like all that stuff.
Do you then, once you've written, how many drafts did you go through with like Soiled Grounds?
I wouldn't say drafts, but I would say I edited it a lot, like 2-3 times, because in January I had to do a book reading for that book. So I edited the heck out of that thing. I had like 2 or 3 sessions of editing.
Wow.
It was stressful. And I did have a mental break.
Was that like an all night session then? Were you just like staying up all night just to try and get it down, get the coffee?
No, I took breaks because I refrained from working on it all night because you miss stuff. Yeah. So you miss a lot of stuff if you do that. I had to cut that habit out.
How do you maintain a kind of a passion for writing if what you're studying is writing at the same time? Is there like a Merrick head that's dealing with his studies and the Merrick head that's dealing with kind of like the fiction that you're writing with? Do you have to separate the two kind of completely?
Yeah, because it gets. I was dealing with that actually this year because you get a lot of work. I get a lot of work because I write a lot of papers. Because of course I'm an English major, so even when I do get tagged with a lot of work, I try to at least write a page or two.
All right.
At least. But, what really keeps me going with this whole writing thing is because I see the results, of course, and I know I'm getting better when I look at my work. So that keeps me going. And it's just the fact that I love writing and I love creating is what keeps me going also.
We talked about, you're working on a new piece right now, which is kind of like the fantasy kind of genre. So was that Dungeons, Dragons, Maidens, Soldiers, Heroes kind of thing? Are you going down a particular kind of story path with that so far?
Yeah, I'm doing that kind of thing. But with what I did, I refrained from making it just full on fantasy. I started it how I started it was I started it like I didn't want to just full on add all the dragons and all the elves and all that stuff. I'm taking my time and going and slowly going into it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of bit by bit. You're not kind of adding in every single kind of aspect that would be kind of expected. Are you kind of almost like drip feeding it? into kind of like the story, yeah.
Yeah, so years later, all that stuff was going to happen in the story.
And the first couple of stories that you wrote were like a couple of 100 pages long. Have you got an idea of how long, in terms of length, the newest kind of story is going to be, the fantasy story? Is it going to be 600 pages, 500 pages? Are you going to be writing the next Lord of the Rings? Are we looking at...
I'll try. I'll try. No problem with this. but I just want to get to like 300, 400, so I can get more opportunities with literary agents, stuff like that. Because most places they want those big, beefy books that are 300, 400 pages. So I'm just doing it to like give myself a better chance at getting the results that I'm looking for.
Do you have to do pieces of writing for your college? Do you pitch for writings for like websites and things like that as well, or are you purely just kind of doing story writing?
Purely story writing. I mean, I applied for the school newspaper, but between me and you, I didn't get anything back from them. But
well, I mean, I know on the fantasy side of things, but on the professional side of things, what kind of thing would you like to be writing about? Or would you be writing kind of like opinion pieces? Would you be writing like kind of features? Are you just going to be covering kind of like the news? What kind of stuff would you like to write about?
Mainly the news.
Okay.
And maybe sports. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure all that out. Because you could do so much with that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally I was going to school for communications.
All right.
Which would be like, of course, newspapers. And with that, you could do radios and all that stuff. So with this, I don't really know what I want to do yet. But I'm mainly going for news and writing for news and stuff like that.
Do you get, as time as your course, do you actually get the chance to kind of shadow with kind of in local newspapers and things like that as part of the course?
Well, we call that internships.
Right, yeah, okay.
So I'm going to look for internships my senior year because I'm a junior.
All right, okay. So is that a couple of years away before you kind of go into the kind of the senior year then?
Next year, and then hopefully I get hired by somebody. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Because over here in Scotland, right, we don't pay for a university. Yeah. In fact, when I went to university, we were lucky there was universities. We were still teaching everybody using kind of slates and stuff like that. But is your decision as to where you go in terms of your education, is that have to be taken into consideration from a financial point of view? Do you have to look at this and say, if I go and do this particular course, I'm going to end up, X thousands of dollars that I'm going to be due? So is that kind of like a consideration when you've been picking the course that you've been on?
Money wise, good question. That's a really good question. I mean, depends on how big the loan is,
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to put that into consideration because I myself took out a loan. So, I mean, it's going to be a well-paying job anyways, you're a journalist, so. You need to know that now. And they have really good options for what kind of loan you want to take out. Because the one I have, I get to repay it in 15 years.
Wow.
And then there's some that are where you don't have to pay it until you get out of school and all that stuff.
Is there some there that you're almost a case that you've got to kind of continue kind of like an education in order to kind of put the repayments back then? You get some people that move on to do like their masters and things like that. Because otherwise, if they leave college, they've got to start paying back the loans kind of straight away.
It depends on what the career the person chooses, because there's doctors and stuff like that. They get pretty good money, so they can probably sum down to like their first paycheck or whatever. But it all depends on what you pick over here. All depends on what you pick and what your situation is like too.
Okay. Okay. What would be your kind of like your ideal job, your kind of your dream job?
Me personally, I don't have dream jobs or dream cars and all that. I just want to accomplish my goals. So I really wouldn't say I have a dream job. But what I hope to gain from all this is, of course, being a journalist and writing with a actual company instead of self-publishing.
Do you have a kind of dream in being like the investigative journalist, kind of cracking the big story, kind of like,
Nah.
laying it to the man? Or are you just quite happy to be kind of like, I'm just going to be like reporting on stuff?
Right, I'm just happy to be here. I'm here, so I accomplished this. So I'm just happy to be here. That's how I think about things.
Yeah. You think about the small things that you achieve as well. Do you think it's important to kind of like reward yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely, all the time, especially with this writing stuff and how it really gets stressful. I like to think about all the stuff that I've accomplished so far. It keeps me going. All that keeps me going. And even my friends, they ask me how the hell do I do it. I tell them I just think about everything and all the stuff that I've done. So it's good for motivation too.
Do you get your friends kind of asking, how do you get the time to write all this stuff? How do you get the time to do this?
Everyone asks me that. I told them, I don't know. I just do it. I'm just here. I just do it. I just do it. I don't know how I do it. I don't. I just go with the flow like a dead fish.
Just looking up with that funny eye.
I'm just here.
Just like drifting off to the set, exactly. Yeah, I was just doing stupid stuff on the camera there just now. But anyway, have any of your friends kind of tried the writing as well? I mean, is there other people in the class that are also doing kind of like the fiction writing, or are people kind of generally concentrating on the kind of...
Personally, well, one of my friends, he doesn't write, but he's also in the creative process because he's a music producer.
All right.
And he's a clothes designer too.
Right.
And then the other two just work.
So is he hoping to kind of like be rocking his own labels and stuff like that and getting people buying?
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Is there kind of have you noticed you share kind of like a similar attitude with your friend who's kind of like in the fashion side of things as opposed to the guys that are just going out and working? Do you kind of look at goals the kind of the same way because you're kind of like doing something creatively?
I mean, we all have the goal of hoping that our stuff goes to the next level. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think the goals are a little bit different because we're in two different aspects of a creative process. So I wouldn't call it the same. I feel like, me personally, I think a goal of his would be like to go out there and make connections because that's a big part of clothes designing and making music. But then there's mine goals. It's just like, get a dang page done. Go sit down, write your book, get it done, and then get it out there. So I would say, and then a goal of mine is to get more events to my name, basically, compared to his will be like connect with people, get people to buy the beats that you make, and stuff like that. So I would say we have one goal in common. Other than that, we'll be completely different.
Do you think nowadays with everybody kind of being connected in the social media that you've got to kind of be out there and be visible, that people are aware of your name, and it's almost that you're kind of carrying, it's not just your writing, but you're almost like carrying a kind of a brand yourself, that, you know, you're kind of having to build up your name, that people can know about you, that people are aware of your writing, but people will not just be expecting stuff from your writing, they'll be expecting, you know, to see more stuff of you in kind of like social media than, hey, I just write stuff.
Definitely. Social media definitely plays a huge role into it because if it wasn't for social media, I don't know what I'll be. I don't even think somebody would actually buy my stuff. But yeah, social media is huge, especially for connecting with people like you, and thank you. Thank you. And then, especially in the self-published line of things, you definitely need social media in your life, because if you don't promote yourself, you're not going to get any vibes or stuff like that. And I guess for events and stuff like that, social media plays a huge role in that. So yeah, social media is huge.
Is there kind of like book buying events that you go to? Do you go to like local kind of events where you kind of like sell the book and things like that? I mean, have you got like a box of copies of Soil Grounds, for instance, that people can buy? Or
actually, I did a giveaway from my book reading. So
right.
Yeah. Okay. I do stuff like that, but I'm trying to get more like book readings to do exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, in order to kind of like do the promotion and to be kind of like giving the copies, you then obviously need to kind of get them printed in the kind of the first place. When you're selling the books, do you use any services where they kind of like they do like a print on demand service, so you're not having to send kind of like stock, to like Amazon and places like that?
Yeah, because you self-publish through a website, and from the website I self-publish from, they basically print everything for you. So all you have to do is just create your cover and upload your book. Bang, it's done. Then you get your stuff, you get your works discounted, because I still have to buy them myself too. Okay.
Is that the Lulu shop? Is that the one that you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, that's her.
What you hear about, obviously, like, the J.K. Rowlings of this world making like millions and millions of dollars. In terms of like counting success for yourself, I mean, do you remember when you kind of like sold your first copy of your book?
That felt great. I was like, wow, someone actually bought it. Because I would get so many people that would be like, I'm going to buy your book. I'm like, okay. And then I check. Yeah, I don't see a sale at all. So I don't know. But seriously, success to me is just getting my stuff done and doing what I have to get myself out there and all that. So I don't really pay attention to. I'm not really paying attention to sales right now, because I just want to get my name out there more.
Do you want to tell us, because Soil Grounds is available just now, do you want to kind of give us a kind of a brief rundown, almost like your elevator pitch of Soil Grounds for people who are listening out there?
All right, so here we go. Here's the hard part.
Here we go.
Soil Ground.
No pressure, Merrick. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
Good.
Click it. All right. Ready? Soil Grounds is about it's basically a sci-fi noir novel where it has utopian and dystopian concepts, and the story takes place in a utopia where there's no crime. And so one day, a rookie police officer, like second day he gets to go to work, he finds a dead body in an alley. So he travels between both utopian and dystopian worlds to figure out who committed the murder.
There you go. Sounds straightforward. It's not a long book, is it? He's got it.
Show you right now.
He can't. Oh, look, there you go. That's
109, 120.
120. There you go. And you can get that on Lulu.com.
Lulu, Amazon. I'm trying to get it on iBooks too right now.
Do you find you got to do that? You've got to got once your book's ready, you've got to put it as many kind of places as possible in order to help kind of get the exposure then.
Oh yeah, definitely. From Amazon to Lulu does the work for you. Actually, you get to put it on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes, and then iBooks. So all you gotta do is just put it up there. You gotta make sure everything is good, and then you're all set.
And do you get support from other writers? I mean, when you see other writers at events, are you kind of like talking to them, speaking to them all the time, finding out what they're up to, what they're doing? Do you help people that kind of maybe just saying, look, I've written this page like 15 times now and it still is the worst piece of writing I've ever done. Help me. Do you kind of like build each other up and things like that when you're having, when you go?
Yeah, on Instagram, actually, for anyone who wants to know, it's called Merrick's Books Original. I know.
I'll need to ask you how you came up with that name, but just...
where it's actually a small writing community. We're a community, We basically look out for each other. We give each other advice. Mm-hmm. We basically keep each other going, That looks great. That sounds great. You keep going. You're on a roll right now. It's pretty nice. And of course, so it's even better because you're not the only one who's going through it. There's other people out there who's actually going through what you're going to. So it's cool. It's cool. I enjoy it. That's where I spend most of my time now, other than my personal Instagram, because it's fun. I see relatable stuff. I get to connect with people who are basically like me. So I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's nice. It's refreshing, which is the better. It's refreshing.
Yeah, I think no matter what people talk about motivation, self-motivation can only get you so far. You've got to have people around you that are ready to be kind of like your champions and are ready to kind of like build you up and stuff like that as well. You can't just go about all the time telling people how absolutely wonderful you are,
Yeah.
You've got to have people kind of willing to fight your corner for you kind of as well, which is something you kind of have to be. If you could write, okay, here's the thing. If you weren't writing, what would you be doing? If you could do anything else creative at all. And I'm not talking, if skill was no object, if I said, okay, paint me an oil painting, you could go away and do that. If I said, make me an ice sculpture, you'd be able to go and do that. But if it had to be in a creative field, what would you go out and make or do if you weren't writing? Yeah, see, this is the hardest question of the whole talk.
Painting, drawing, and making music. The ones. Yeah, I love painting. My favorite painting is the Old Guitarist and Liebach by Picasso, and Nighthawks and Chop Suey by Hopper.
What kind of music would you be making?
Hip hop, I guess. Reggae too, since I'm reggae, hip hop, reggae. And then maybe, those would be the main two.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Excellent.
I try.
The most important thing, I guess, and the whole point of this is when you look back at the first things that you wrote, can you honestly say, with your hand on your heart, they were fairly awful?
Yes. Especially my short stories. Like I dread going back to my short stories. Honestly, I dread it. Because it's just so bad. I just look at it like, ugh. Hate it.
But at the time, you would have put your pen down or you would have put your hands off the keyboard and thought, that is the best thing I have ever done. I have just made my own version of Keep the Aspidistra Flying. I've just, that is it. Byron, Keats and Shelley, you got nothing on what the words I have wrote on this lovely Lenovo PC.
Dumpster fire. I'm proud of myself.
The dumpster fire that's not only just sitting there, it's also floating down the river, setting fire to different things as it flows down the river.
Trees, grass, everything.
Small animals. the occasional car, whatever.
The occasional person. But that's all right.
Oh dear. If people want to find you, follow you, and read your words of wonder, where do you exist on the interweb nets, Merrick? Where can we find you?
My Instagram is Merrick's Books and Twitter, MTJ Tull.
Okay.
And that's it.
Awesome. Well, what I'll do is I'll make sure that when we put this out, we will put those links plus the links to your books in the show notes. So everybody who's listened to tonight can go and check your stuff out. So there you go. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, go to the internet web, search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us there. You'll find us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those other places. We have got, and if you are one of these people that's in the creative field or anything at all and you fancy coming on and chatting with us, like Merrick has done today, then give us a shout. Just drop us an email, magic@we'renotwizards. If you like what you've listened to tonight, jump onto Apple Podcasts, drop us a subscription, which is always good, drop us a rating or review, which is always a better. And hopefully you have enjoyed this kind of, inaugural session of making something awful with Merrick Tull-Johnson. Thank you very, very much. This will go down in history now because this is the first one. I'm not saying it's awful. I'm just not saying that at all. But thank you very, very much for coming on, Merrick. It's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. But remember, until the next time, stay safe, roll sixes, and make something awful. But it's a goodbye from Merrick. Say goodbye, Merrick.
Bye.
It's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.